Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for Pinkfresh Studio. Thanks for joining me today. Today we are creating for the seasons, and by that I mean I am taking one product suite and creating two different cards for different seasons, and I'm going to be featuring the Grateful Greenery set. Now I'll be using the press plate set today to do some hot foiling, but keep in mind this is available in a stamp set as well. There are coordinating dies and coordinating stencils which I will be using for this project. I'll also be bringing in a couple of essentials, the elongated nested ovals, as well as that basket weave cover plate. Now I'm going to start by doing my foiling. So I have this beautiful Grateful Greenery stem laid onto my Glimmer Hot Foil platform. I've allowed that to heat up and then I set the timer. Once the timer was done, I went ahead and removed the platform from the base and took it over to my Platinum 6 die cutting machine, where I added my champagne colored foil with the pretty side down, my smooth white cardstock, and the thin shim and the spacer pad that come with the Glimmer Hot Foil system. Now on this first go around, my sentiment and my stem were a little close together. I didn't quite allow enough margins to die cut both of those, but that's okay. I'm only going to use that greeting on one of my cards for today, and that's going to be the fall themed card. So now that I have two of these beautiful foiled stems, I am going to color them in different ways. Now this is a great way to take one of these evergreen products and create with it for seasons. So I'm really focusing one on the fall season and the other on a more holiday winter themed season. So for the fall theme, I'm going in with Persimmon and blending more intensely towards the base of the leaves. Then I'm bringing in passion fruit over the rest of the leaves here. And once I wipe up my stencil from that, I'm going to grab Spanish moss and a 1/2 inch blending brush and bring just a little bit in on the tips of these leaves. Now, I'm not going to show you the entire blending process on both of these sets because for stencils 2 and 3, I'm actually going to use the same colors on both colorways. And this really is one of those sets that you can create for all seasons. If I was creating for spring, I might bring in some pink for the berries and do a little bit of blue shading on these leaves. I think that would be really fun. And if you live in California and you want to do this for summer, then you would just make everything brown. Because it is hot and brown here in California right now. So for stencil number 2, I went ahead and blended with gathered twigs, and that does the stem of the vine here. And for the berries, I used candy apple. Now I'm coming in with another foiled piece here, and I'm going to create for the holiday season, the winter Christmassy season. And so I'm starting out by blending eucalyptus over the entire leaves, and then I'm coming in with some lush forest towards the base of the leaves using a 1/2 inch blending brush. And if there is one thing I wish I would have done a little differently on this card is I wish I would have bumped up the contrast between that lush forest and the eucalyptus. So here are my two stems here. You can see they have a very different look, but I only changed the color of the leaves, and they're perfect when you combine them with particular greetings for different seasons. And you can do this, as I mentioned, for spring and summer as well. So now that I have these blended, I'm going to use the coordinating die to die cut each of these stems. You can see I have that beautiful foiled detail there. If you don't have a system to hot foil with, you could instead emboss this with some gold embossing powder and use that instead to give you that little touch of gold. Now, one thing that I really love about this is that there's these small inner pieces of the vine that actually die cut out, so you have a little space between the berries and the vine there. And look at this beautiful greeting that says, "Grateful for your kindness." That is perfect for the grateful season, that fall season where we all feel all the feels about gratitude. And so I thought that would be a great greeting for fall. Now I have one of the nested elongated ovals, and I have two panels of cardstock here. I'm actually stacking them up on each other because I want to die cut the window in the exact same spot on both of these panels of colored cardstock. For the more fall themed card, I chose a beautiful kind of corally orange color. And for the winter themed card, I chose a really deep, dark green. Now, it didn't cut through both layers of these cardstock on the first pass. So I am just taking and placing this die back into the indentation that was made by the first pass of the die cutting machine, kind of locking it into place, and then running it through my die cut machine again, and it cut through on that second time. Now for both of these panels, I'm going to use this basket weave cover plate and add a little bit of texture to each of these panels. You could use any sort of texture, and in fact, next week's release, there is a beautiful cover plate, which I wish I could have used, but it's not out yet, so stay tuned for that. And for each of these window panels, I'm going to do a little blending around the edges. Now, here's another thing I wish I would have done. I'm coming in with passion fruit here. I really wish I would have come in with persimmon, because you're seeing an intensity of this ink now that looks beautiful and great. But as this ink dries back just a bit, this is going to really fade into the cardstock, and I'm really going to lose some of this intensity. So I should have used persimmon. And on this Lush Forest dark green panel, I should have just blended a little more intensely to really bring in that moody vibe that I'm going for around the edge of these panels. You'll see as I go to assemble these that these dry back quite a bit, and so I'm going to go back in and bump up that color here in just a bit. But I really did it the hard way. If I would have started with a little more blending to begin with, I could have saved myself some trouble in the long run. I'm just going to show you how I assembled one of these cards because I assembled them both in the same exact way. I slipped my little vine there, or my greenery piece, through the window. Some of it's behind the window, some of it's in front, and I glued it in place with some Pinkfresh Studio liquid glue. And then on the back of this, I'm going to add some foam adhesive. I'm going all the way around, and once I have plenty of foam adhesive on the back, I'm going to remove the backer on that foam adhesive, and I'm going to place a panel of vellum. Now I got this slightly off, and so I just went in and trimmed the excess with my scissors. You're going to see me run my scissors right along that edge, just cutting off that little bit of vellum that I had kind of hanging over. And on the back side of this vellum panel, I'm taking a low loft foam adhesive. This is a 1 millimeter thick foam adhesive, and I'm placing that around the back edge. Now for my sentiment, I grabbed the Holiday Greetings press plate and coordinating die set. I have a few of these sentiments pre-foiled and ready to go in my pocket with my product. So I just grabbed that and placed it onto the vellum window using some foam adhesive. I did double up the layers on that as well. Now I'm adding this to an ivory card base with that little bit of border around the edge, and I'm finishing the card off by adding just a little more sparkle. I have some champagne glitter drops that I'm adding with some liquid glue and my dual-tipped embellishment tool. I'll add those around the perimeter or the border of the card. And then I grabbed the ruby glitter drops. These are perfect for the holidays, and I added just a few of the very smallest of these ruby glitter drops to the berries on the vine. And I did this on both of these cards for the seasons. Now here's where I decided that ink blending had really faded back too much. And so I grabbed some scraps of printer paper, I trimmed them down, and I covered my card base. Now this was up on a little bit of foam adhesive, so it allowed me to do this. I'm protecting my card base, and I'm bringing in some darker blending with a 1/2 inch blending brush and the Persimmon ink. And for the green panel, I actually grabbed licorice ink and a 1/2 inch blending brush, and I'm just carefully adding that on to the edges to really bump up the contrast on that blending. Once I had those edges blended with a little more contrast, I was a little happier with the finished project. And you can see that I created for 2 very different seasons using the exact same product suite. And when you have a nice basic in your stash like this, it really makes creating for all seasons very easy. I love the bit of shine that the foiling adds and those glitter drops. I think this is a fun way to kind of take those evergreen products that are already in your stash, change them up for the seasons, and see what you can come up with. Now I have a couple of cards on hand that are perfect for the Thanksgiving and fall season, as well as the Christmas season. That will be here before we know it. Now, as always, I will have links to the featured products used in these projects in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. As always, I want to say thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed watching me create for the seasons. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on the Pinkfresh Studio YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the fabulous paper crafting and card making video tutorials we share here, as well as the weekly live stream where you can watch as we create live and enter to win prizes. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to leave me a comment in the comments below to let me know which of these two seasonal cards is your favorite. I can't wait to hear what you think. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.